Hello, welcome to today's video where we're talking about how to not binge on Thanksgiving or holidays in general, because I am someone who does struggle with food. I'm someone who has had to undergo a lot of mindset shifts around food, and I wanted to share some of my thoughts because hopefully someone may get something out of this, and I know I'm not the only one who struggles with this. So the first things first, when it comes to holidays in general, I understand they are stressful because they are typically laced with some sort of cultural expectation of binge eating. I used to go into a lot of these holidays with a lot of stress and anxiety because I know I want to enjoy a lot of the food, but I also don't want to compromise on my goals, my health, my mental health, and etc. And basically, it would turn into this: I go into the holiday, I eat everything in sight, I self-flagellate emotionally and abuse myself in the gym. I hyper restrict my food, and it gets to a point where I overeat on Thanksgiving. I completely don't eat any food the following day, and then I'm so hungry on Saturday I end up binging. So some of the best advice I got from my coach overall is: one, not every meal needs to be an occasion, and that is like literally every meal is there to help sustain life, and we have these cultural expectations that every food needs to be a celebration, every breakfast, lunch, dinner, etc. Obviously, we're on Thanksgiving. We'll get to my point in a second, but in general, our day-to-day habits should be long-term sustainable. Now, on these days in which we do have a celebration and occasion, our cultural expectation is to have food there and overeat maybe a little bit, but as someone who does struggle with over consuming food, there is this belief that we need to go in and eat everything because maybe our general lifestyle is too restrictive overall. So if you're going into this holiday where you have overly restricted because you do plan on overeating, the best thing that I got from my coach after the not every meal is an occasion, the best advice I got during the occasions is that this is not going to be the last time you celebrate this event, this meal, these friends, etc. Obviously, there's other circumstances that, like, you're on death row, that it may warrant that kind of experience, but you're going to have another Thanksgiving. You're going to have another Friendsgiving. You're going to be able to have turkey and pumpkin pie and apple pie again. Maybe you're in a part of your life where you're trying to be more conscious about what you eat, but there's going to be leftovers tomorrow and probably Saturday and probably Sunday. So eating everything today is fun, sure, but getting to a point where you feel sick and you feel emotionally distraught by the amount of food that you eat today is going to affect the following days and is going to make it so that you can't enjoy whatever's left on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, maybe Monday, etc. So understand that you're going to have another celebration, and understand that it is going to not affect your goals in the long term. You'll have one day where you maybe significantly overeat calories, but that averages out over time. And the goal is to find a balance with how much we consume on these celebrations to a point where it does average out. If you eat 10,000 calories, obviously you're going to have some body composition changes. Maybe that might not be your goal right now, but if you enjoy it, fine. What I'm doing to go into this is, one, I'm not changing any of my exercise beyond maybe 10 to 20%. I'm going to go a little harder in the gym today. Let's be real. It's fun. I enjoy that. If that's not what you enjoy, then don't change your program. Do not change anything, because when you undergo these significant changes by restricting food before you go into this meal, by overtraining, by over exerting yourself, you focus more on the act of food versus celebrating the people that are there. Do not change a significant amount of what you do anyways. Going into the event, the next thing I always suggest is focus on the protein first. My sourdough, hold on.
12 seconds later.
Okay, where was I? I think it was protein. Protein. Long story short, going into the meal, if you prioritize protein first, one, eating your protein is generally good, but that can help with satiation to a point where you aren't loading up with empty calories, carbs, sugar, etc., and over consuming some of that stuff. That might kick yourself into hypercaloric overdrive. The other big thing is to focus on the mealtime itself. Give yourself 2 hours of this is the mealtime during the Thanksgiving celebration, Christmas celebration, etc. The feeding window should maybe be 2 hours. It shouldn't go from like, okay, we get to the event, we see that grandma made a dessert table. I'm going to have 4 cookies at lunch. Then at 1 p.m., while everyone's cooking, I'm going to snack on whatever chips and dip that are there. And then you go to mealtime. It's around 3 or 4, and you eat 4 plates of food. And then you have dessert at like 6, and then it's 9 o'clock, everyone's having second dessert or second dinner just because you can. Keep it isolated to the mealtime itself. Going into that mealtime, what I do also recommend is that you don't hyper restrict your food, as in you don't not eat up until that meal. Having a little something will not make you so hungry that you feel the need to eat everything in sight. As I finish this recording, I'm gonna go have a protein shake and maybe a piece of fruit and go to the gym. And then that will probably lead me to a protein bar after the gym, and then I'm gonna have my meal later. I am not hyper restricting my food. I am still being conservative on what I eat, trying to stay within some reasonable amount of calories to fuel myself for the gym. But what I'm doing is not completely going into the primary meal of the day fasted, because that is a recipe for a binge. So actionable steps are: don't go in super fasted, don't hyper change your fitness program. The following days, you will be able to have some of the leftovers too, and you'll ideally be able to enjoy them. And understand that these celebrations will happen again. And because they happen again, there should be some solace in the fact that you'll be able to experience this again too. And if you overconsume today, maybe a little bit more tomorrow as well, it will average out over the next week. But ultimately, the most important thing is to, whatever your habits are now, just keep those habits outside of these 1 or 2 days. And if you maintain good habits, everything balances out, because consistency saves everything. Okay. Last thing. And I know it's a little bit easier for me to say as someone who has struggled with binge eating issues around holidays, especially. I'm 32 years old, and if I were to tell my 21-year-old self these same things, I would probably be like, oh, but like, I could never change how I enjoy my cheat days. Being older, I have discovered that as the way it makes me feel, those events is more important than eating as much food as possible. And I know what it's like to feel sick and gross, both emotionally and physically, around these events, because I would significantly overeat. So the thing I'm trying to communicate is, when you are older, you understand that by abusing yourself with food and abusing yourself in the gym is likely going to make you feel worse in the long run than being a little bit more conservative, being a little bit more aggressive with self-care rather than aggressive with overeating, hurting ourselves with food. Because food, it can be abusive to yourself. I know that if I were to abuse myself today by going too hard in the gym and then eating way too much food, it's going to make me feel worse overall in the long run. So focus on the actual long run outcome, which is, hey, I want to focus on my friends, I want to focus on having a good time, but not so much that it becomes a detriment to me as a whole. And I hope these holidays aren't a stressful thing for you. I wanted to make this video to hopefully help someone, because I know I'm not the only one who thinks about accidentally overeating on Thanksgiving to a point where I do potentially ruin some of my goals. Not ruin, it makes it a little bit harder, because you have to be reactionary And being proactive is generally a good thing in life. So, thank you for watching. I hope this video helps someone. I don't really care. I'm not adding tags to this YouTube video because I'm hoping people within my audience appreciate both the art and the fitness stuff. Okay, I'll leave it there. Take care. 1 gram of protein, maybe a little more today per pound of body weight. Makes gains. Bye.